Hey guys, welcome to Priceless B Movies. I'm your host, Colin Price, and it's been a hot minute since I've done one of these videos. I have been seriously busy the last several months. In fact, I realized earlier today that it has been almost a year since the last time that I posted a video. I'm here in my new surroundings, in my new house that my fiance and I have just moved into. Still getting everything situated, which is the main reason that I'm recording this video on my webcam instead of my camera phone. My phone has been having all kinds of issues with file transferring lately for some reason. I'm getting that looked at, so until I can get that little problem fixed, I'm going to be doing this and other videos with my webcam, which I know will look a little cheaper, but so are almost all the movies that I review. Today, however, I am not doing a movie review. I am doing another one of my Q&A sessions. I have gone on Facebook. I figured that since it's been so long since I did a video, I would kind of catch everyone up with some of the things that I've been doing and let the people who watch these videos ask me some questions, anything that they would like to know about what I've been doing, what I've thought of movies recently, or just anything related to myself or this page. I've selected 6 questions that were posted either to my Facebook or sent to me in a private message or posted to me on this page, and I think we should just jump right on into it because some of these are pretty generalized. Question number 1, have you seen my movie Haunted House site and what did you think of it? Now normally I wouldn't answer a question like this. I don't believe in doing endorsements for people for other websites or other YouTube pages or anything like that unless I am either associated with it in some way or I'm being paid to do it. However, this came from a really big fan and someone who's been following my videos literally since the first one. He sent me this link, and I will post the link, the Angel Fire link, to this site in the About section for this video right under the screen. He put together a haunted house site. I have seen it, but it was like something like 4 or 5 months ago when I first got the link to it. I remember it was very well put together, and basically it kind of notes all the different haunted houses in various haunted house films, and kind of gives you a brief history of it as if the location actually existed. I was very interested in this because I'm a total movie buff, especially if I love a movie. Like what hit me about this site was the page that they had on the Vaniket Institute, which obviously doesn't really exist, but is the setting for the remake of House on Haunted Hill. And it was this really in-depth analysis of the history of that location. Of course, even though this is all fiction, it's still a lot of fun for horror movie fans like myself. And if you're at all interested, you should definitely check it out. Question number 2. Where is your top 10 this year? I don't have one. As I said, I haven't done one of these video reviews in a while. And honestly, there weren't many movies that came out in 2016 that I loved. There were some that I liked. There were a few that I liked. There were a lot that I didn't really care for. There were definitely some disappointments in there. But I don't think that I've seen 10 3.5 to 4-star movies this year, unfortunately. I didn't bother putting together a top 10 this year because I didn't see many movies over the course of the year that I thought I would put on a top 10 list for any reason. I will say that my 2 favorite movies this year in the horror genre were The Witch and The Autopsy of Jane Doe. The Witch you can find my review for on this page. It was one of the last videos that I did. And on my Facebook group, I did write a review for The Autopsy of Jane Doe in the last couple of weeks, so you can always go on my Facebook and check that out. Question number 3. What is The Proposal? Why don't you watch it and find out? All kidding aside, The Proposal is a short film that I wrote and directed earlier this summer and posted up on my page. I believe that it is the most recent video on there. Um, while I like to do these reviews, I do also from time to time like to keep people who watch my reviews up to date on kind of the local film work that I'm doing. And while I don't always get permission from certain directors to put videos or clips, it's something that I think I'm going to start doing a little more regularly. The Proposal is a 15-minute short. It was adapted. It wasn't an original idea of mine. I adapted the screenplay from a creepypasta that you can read about or watch played out on YouTube called The Proposition. It's basically kind of a Faust deal. There's this woman who's married and she's unhappy in her marriage. Her husband's kind of a douche, and a demon shows up. A demon door-to-door salesman, as it were, shows up and says, well, you give me your soul and I'll take care of your husband. It's a very generic plotline, but I was really attracted to the idea of having a demonic character portrayed as a door-to-door salesman. I thought that the creepypasta, while it definitely got under my skin when I read it, I thought that there was a lot of room for satire and humor, and I adapted the script to be a little less spooky. I think it's still spooky as it is, but I also wanted to kind of do it a little less serious and have a little more fun with it than what was originally written. Obviously, not knocking the creepypasta in and of itself. I just figured that in transferring it to the medium of film, that I could have a lot of fun with kind of the outrageousness of the scenario. Question number 4. Your short films are fairly light on violence as opposed to the films you review. I don't really know what the question is there. I'm gonna assume that the question is why. Violence in film is so subjective. I mean, I could have a screenplay that says there's these two guys in a hallway, one of them stabs another one and walks away. And depending on the people working on it, the director, the editor, even the caster, and in Hollywood productions, obviously the studio, if you want a certain rating or something, you want to watch how you film violence and how you put it together because you can't show too much. All of these things could factor in. As a director with the short films I've done, some of the stuff that I've put on my Priceless B Movie page and also on my other page, Price and Palmer Productions, I don't often feel the need to be overly gory or overly. There's been a couple of points where I've decided to show the violence of a scene. I will give you this clip here from an unfinished film that I worked on called The Magician's Act.
Do you mind my target's getting away?
Who is my target?
Now, right there, that was an occasion where I wanted to show the violence because at the beginning it's setting up the ruthlessness of the character who's pulling the trigger, and later on he's going to get his comeuppance, and you want to hate him. So I wanted to show him tricking and shooting this guy, and I didn't want to leave much to the imagination. However, in other shorts, like I'll let you view this clip from one of my first films called Spectrophone.
Off without her anyways. So.
See, now in that case, I didn't feel it was necessary to show the violence. I thought that the eeriness of the scene was enough, and to have the blood hitting the table, I didn't need to show someone's throat getting cut. It is subjective, and it really is up to the people behind the camera to decide, with the style of the film that they're making and the subject matter, when is it a good idea to be outrageously gory? When is it a good idea to maybe suggest more? I don't really have a particular answer to the question, other than just to say that, it is what it is. I make most of my decisions in those regards in the editing process, when I'm looking at the scene and how it fits into the rest of the script. If I think that the gore is distracting, I'm not going to show that much of it. If I think that it's not necessary to show someone getting shot in the head, I'm not going to show it. I'll imply it, or you'll hear it, or whatever. You ask any director, and I'm fairly confident they'll give you the same answer along those lines. 2 more questions to go. Question number 5, Marvel or DC? Frankly, I should have expected this. You know, there's been a lot said in the last few years on social media, online, and different critics' reviews about comic book movies because it seems like there's a new one every month. And the way I look at it is, I think that both the MCU and the DC universe have their own problems. I don't particularly think one is better than the other, but I will say that I prefer the DC films, and that's just from a natural bias that I'm going to admit to right now. When I was growing up, I was much more into Batman and Superman than I was into the Avengers. I think because it was just what the good comic book movies at the time were when I was growing up. DC really owned cinema for a few decades before Marvel started their formula and really getting people's attention. That being said, I do think that the DC universe has some problems. One, their casting choices aren't always great. I mean, come on, Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, that was pretty ridiculous. And also, I really think this, they have got to let their directors have their vision. Because with both Batman vs Superman and the Suicide Squad, we've seen how the WB will come in and they'll be like, okay, that's a good movie. Now here's how we're gonna edit it and completely corrupt this movie. So now we have to get these extended cuts of both movies where they're kind of apologizing without really doing it and being like, sorry fans, here's the movie you should have gotten. I really do think that Warner Brothers needs to back off, and the only way that the DC universe is going to get much better is if they start doing what Marvel does and let their directors have more creative control over the final product. That being said, I think the MCU has a lot of issues too. I don't think that they're treating their characters and their storylines very well. I think they're treating each movie like a commercial for the next movie. It's like watching an assembly line. The films can be entertaining enough in their own right, but at the end of the day, other than maybe Winter Soldier, do you really give a damn about anything you've just watched after you finish watching a Marvel movie? Does it send you home thinking about anything, or uh, it's just there's no entertainment value outside of the initial experience. I can't say there's been too many times where I've watched an MCU film and I've thought, man, I really want to see that again and see if there's something I missed or if there's some plot point that went over my head, yada yada. Try to get a little more out of it. I think you can do those with the DC movies a little better than you can with the Marvel films. I think Marvel, especially since they're run by Disney, they they're more interested in putting out a product and getting to the next one than they are about really trying to make their individual movies matter. And that's my biggest problem with them. But like I said, I see faults on both sides. And I think that when it comes down to it, it's just kind of like, well, which characters do you like watching more? Will ultimately be what makes up your mind. Or you'll just be neutral and just say you like them both or you hate them both. Okay, final question. Question number 6. What have you thought of the movies in 2016 in general? Looking back on cinema this year, I really would just kind of have to say it's been all right. There hasn't been much that's really blown me away this year. I had, like I said, with my top 10 question, there were only a handful of movies that I really thought were great. I didn't even think enough movies were great to put together a top 10 list. Now, granted, the last several months I have been really busy. I finally finished my book, Red Light and Other Tales. You can find it on lulu.com. I did a number of short films working with different people here in Champaign. I went on a vacation to Florida in November where I proposed to my girlfriend. Alyssa, I love you. And I moved. We're here in the new house, and I mean, it hasn't left a lot of time for me to go to the theater in the last few months. I have not seen Doctor Strange yet. I have not seen Star Wars Rogue One yet. I have not seen Arrival. I have not seen La La Land. I haven't seen a good deal of movies that critics are saying, oh, these are the best of the year. I haven't seen them yet, so I can't really put together a list and say that I thought this year was great because of these movies. I will say that I think in the horror genre, this year's been pretty overrated. We've had movies like Don't Breathe, where everyone was saying, "Oh, it's so good," and I just couldn't get into it. Once it got to the point where, the blind guy who's stalking the kids in the house he can hear one of them move from the other end of the house, but he can't smell the sweaty girl who's sneaking right by in front of him in different scenes. Stuff like that just takes me right out. Also, I have a similar problem with the movie Hush. It's another movie that a lot of people are talking about, and I just could not find a span of 2 or 3 minutes anywhere in that movie where I thought, yeah, that's how realistically these people would be acting in this situation. It's ridiculous. I can't really get into many of the thrillers this year. I thought Ouija was pretty good. Lights Out was pretty good. As I said earlier, The Witch and The Autopsy of Jane Doe were amazing. They're hands down the best horror films of the year. But 2016 in general has just been kind of meh. I hope we get some better movies this next year in 2017. Well, that's my Q&A video, my second Q&A video. I hope you all enjoyed. And here pretty soon I will get back to posting review videos up for everyone. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Priceless B Movies.